Franziska, the instrument you brought to present on this video and you played so far is really something quite special, and you don't see instruments like these very often. Can you introduce us to what exactly you brought with you?
Well, I brought here with me an Italian Salterio of the 18th century, which is really a special type of the psaltery instruments, and I'm really fortunate to play an original instrument. So my instrument was built by Michele Barbi in the year 1725 in Rome. It's almost 300 years old, and I bought it in unrestored conditions. So I looked for a restorer and also accompanied the restoring process. And I'm really quite happy that the result is really convincing,
Yes.
at least to my ears. I love the sound, and I must say it's really a huge difference, the sound of the original instrument and the sound of the copies that I know so far.
Yes. When we were trying to find a nice selection of pieces, for you to play and to accompany this video and to, demonstrate the sound and just the feel of the Salterio, I was a little surprised when I asked you who the composers of your pieces were, because in 2 of the 3 cases, actually the composer is yourself, which is not very common, nowadays in this sort of branch of music. How does it come about that you're so active writing music for your own instrument, performing your own music in a sort of tradition which is so old?
Well, actually it's not a lack of Salterio repertoire, as we have hundreds of sonatas and concertos and cantatas, but all the repertoire is with continuo. And as you asked me to play some solo pieces, which are really solo, I had to invent something. And actually I'm really also interested in the question, how does this instrument sound if played alone? I don't think that every Salterio player always had an accompanist with him or her.
Is there some way for you to even find words to describe this very special sound quality of the Salterio? I know it's impossible for someone who plays these instruments every day to put that into words, but if you could find some kind of metaphor or some kind of picture for the sound.
Sparkling.
Sparkling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sparkling and of course spheric and very, very bright, very light. It's like little dots everywhere. The sound of the Salterio is like attack, and then you have a long reverb. And after concerts, it's always some people who tell me, this sound brought me to a completely other sphere, and this really felt like if I would be in the 18th century now. It fits so much into this century.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it brings people back. It gives them the opportunity to get into a time machine and travel back. Yeah.
A virtuoso of your instrument once called it a soft comforter of aristocratic ears, and this was Il Dolce Conforto in his own words, and this is also the name of your own group.
Yes, this refers to its usage in the 18th century. This instrument, as you can see from the ornaments, as you can see from paintings, which are normally also on the instrument, that it was not a popular instrument, but an aristocratic instrument. And it was used in all genres of that time, so it was used at the courts, it was used in the theater, it was used in the church.
When I took a closer look at your most recent CD release, the Sacred Salterio, it's called, I noticed that in the repertoire, in the program, all of the music is actually of a sacred nature, which is quite surprising, not only because it seems that it was an instrument that was very connected to aristocratic culture, but also because, this is what I read in the booklet, Pope Benedict actually banned the Salterio from churches in 1749 or something like that. So how come that we have a whole repertoire for the instrument to build a CD on of sacred music when this instrument wasn't even allowed to be played in churches at some point?
We know that the nuns and the monks and even the cardinals themselves loved to play the psaltery in the 18th century and also in the 17th century. So I think there was anyways a big tradition of playing the psaltery, the salterio in the churches. And on the other hand, I think that maybe this pope was just trying to get some stricter rules, but on the other hand, Rome is far from many other cities, and the music we recorded is from the second half of the 18th century, so it's really about 1770, 1765, something like this, so again 20 years later, and from southern Italy, so from Naples, from Apulia, from San Severo. And so I think the Salterio just made its way back again. And it was maybe also the music that we recorded are all lections that were intonated by famous Neapolitan opera composers, and these were commissioned by the nuns. And I don't think really that they played it in the liturgical celebrities, so in the celebrations, but in just spectacles, like spectaculo, like own Tenebre celebrations that they made maybe the day before.
It seems that there's still some kind of connection there between the aristocratic culture and the sacred culture, the sacred use. If the nuns who order these pieces with Salterio in it and in a style which is actually quite reminiscent of the opera of the time. How is that connection? Is there a way to explain this connection?
A great part of the nuns were of aristocratic origin, and so the nuns came to the cloister not only by vocation and not always willingly, or maybe let's say in most of the cases not willingly. So actually the nuns are aristocratic young women who came to the cloister and then in the cloister tried to maintain at least a little part of freedom inside the monastery, to maintain their origin, where they come from, and they are aristocrats, so they love to take part on the urban social life, which is also opera.
So music and perhaps especially this particular instrument, the Salterio, it worked as somewhat of a window back into their own sort of aristocratic background, into the life that they left behind.
Yes.
Maybe this sort of, what we already talked about, this sort of nostalgic quality to this sound from the past, sort of following you as you play the Salterio, this reverberation of what you have played before, what has happened before. It also sort of supports this this sort of longing for something which is in the past, which you had to leave behind. The other musicians who join you on this new CD, Sacred Salterio, they are all very specialized in their own respective fields, and I think they really do a remarkable job. How did you find all those musicians to join your ensemble?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I was very lucky. What I tried to do is just to bring back to life again the original Salterio repertoire and there is a lot of it. And as I had the luck to study at the Schola Cantorum Basiliensis, I could really find people who are just into this music completely. So there was Jonathan Pesek on the violoncello, great cellist, and there was Daniel Pera on the organ. Also very interesting, as he's really just completely in love with this Neapolitan music, and he's also an organ builder by himself. So he knows quite a lot about the original organs of the time, who really supported this project as well. But the main soloist actually of the CD is Miriam Feuersinger. So she's the soprano, and I'm very happy that she accepted to do this program, and it was a wonderful collaboration between the two of us.
If you could describe the feel of playing the Salterio with sticks or without, how your own physical connection to the instrument is. What sort of words would you use? What do you associate with the physical act of playing the Salterio?
It's very airy, so it's a lot about air. We are not really connected to the instruments as other instrumentalists are. Every flute player has the fingers really directly on the flute, every harpsichordist, every lutenist. But we are somehow every time in the air, and we just touch the Salterio for little moments, especially in the battuto technique with the sticks. With the pizzicato technique, it changes. You really touch the instrument, you can feel it. And yeah, the pizzicato technique is more a haptic procedure.
Now, to arrive at the third piece of your selection for this video, is because I think the sort of background of this piece, the composer here is also almost as interesting as one of the other two pieces. What is it about the third piece? Who composed it? In what context do we have it in front of us?
The third piece is very interesting. I found it in a private collection in southern Italy, and it was part of an instrument. So a private collector had an Salterio, an original Salterio. And with this Salterio, the collector became also a huge package of original manuscripts of scores with concertos and sonatas. And I chose one sonata of this collection. It's written by Vito Ugolino, and we don't know this composer yet, so he might be not so famous, so he's more unknown. And as I went through all this music, I really discovered important composition techniques and features that really resemble the pizzicato technique. So for me, these pieces are 100% played pizzicato.
Yes.
That's why I chose then to learn the pizzicato technique, which I do quite recently. And so that's why I played also this sonata with you pizzicato, and the pizzicato technique with my fingernails to be correct.
So, Franziska, I was really happy to have you here on my first, guest feature on Memo, and it was a very interesting experience. I mean, I learned a lot myself about this instrument, even though I already had, some glimpses into it during my studies. I think what's left to ask now is, what's next for you? What's next for your ensemble, Il Dolce Conforto? What's in the future?
Yeah, we are happy to have our debut concert in Austria at the Internationale Barocktage Melk on the 3rd of June. So please come if you're around Melk, around Vienna, in the beginning of June. And yeah, there are coming some further concerts at the Festtage für Alte Musik in Basel. And I'm already thinking about a second CD project. And well, first of all, I will go to Italy and make a lot of research again to Naples to find more music in the monasteries or also in the conservatories of Naples. I'm very excited to do that, and I thank you for the invitation. It was exciting to be here. Thank you.